Morning people, welcome back to F Politics. After what the Bank of England just said about Brexit, I had a debate with Alex Phillips, former member of the European Parliament under the Brexit party, Nigel Farage's party, which you now know as Reform, but there's lots to learn from it. For example, the first tactic she tries is to imply that Remainers just want the country to fail, that we don't have empathy for the real people who are affected by politics.
The Governor of the Bank of England has today said, warning that Brexit has damaged goods exports to the continent. You must be sitting here doing a fist pump saying, I told you so.
No, because some of us who said we shouldn't do Brexit were on the opinion that we should do whatever we can to protect working class people in this country. And Brexit has clearly hurt working class people in this country. That's been confirmed by every group, every sector of the UK economy, whether it's the Bank of England, the car industry, the fishing industry, the small business industry. Everyone's saying this has made our lives harder.
And like I said, I know how these people operate. And so if I prove that Brexit has damaged the UK, I know they're going to try and move the debate elsewhere. Which is why I take inspiration from a quote from Serenity.
If your quarry goes to ground, leave no ground to go to.
Translation, don't leave them anywhere to hide.
And before we get into the back and forth about me saying Brexit has damaged the country and you saying, oh, but it's not been done correctly.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the old tune.
Exactly. Let's actually look at what the whole getting Brexit done correctly would have meant. You were in the Brexit party, Nigel Farage and Richard Tice's party, and your policy was no deal Brexit,
okay,
which would have meant not having a deal with our closest neighbours. And there is no country on earth that doesn't have a trade deal with its closest neighbours, which means doing something that every successful economy on the planet has chosen specifically not to do.
We don't have a deal with them in services, and yet that sector's going great guns. Gangbusters in the UK. The services industry is on fire, and there was no deal with the EU.
It's still been damaged by it. You're hearing with the financial services, the mayor of the City of London.
So it's going great guns. It's got massive growth, but it's been damaged.
It's been it is possible to do better than we currently are. In fact, if you look around the country, lots of people are not feeling that things are great. There is a lot of room to improve, and even if it's doing well in the financial sector, so bankers doing well, doesn't really help the working class people on the ground, and it has been damaged. And going back to, like I said, in terms of doing Brexit properly, your policy was doing something that every successful economy on the planet has chosen specifically not to do. So that is, by definition, economic vandalism.
I don't think.
Now, because the whole narrative of Brexiteers like Nigel Farage, Richard Tice, Alex Phillips, is that there's some amazing Brexit out there if only people just believed in it enough, because I pointed out that the way they said they would do Brexit would cause economic utter devastation, she actually tries to deny it.
I don't think it's fair to say that that was our policy. I think.
Unfortunately for her, Twitter doesn't forget. So here's Nigel Farage, the leader of her party, saying that no deal is the best deal. Here's the official Brexit Party account, which is now the Reform Party account, saying we don't need a deal with the EU, let's just go for no deal, which they called clean break Brexit because they knew that no deal would sound insane to most people, which is why in the end she had to admit that that was her policy.
I don't think it's fair to say that that was our policy. I think the EU has its own agenda.
No. Your policy was no deal Brexit.
Punitive deal.
Your policy was no deal Brexit. Yes or no?
Yes.
Your policy was no deal Brexit.
Leave without a deal.
So doing something that every successful economy on the planet has chosen not to do.
Which not only means that all the damage that Brexit has done is on her and people like her, it also means that if they were in charge, things would have been even worse. And so, having established that there was nowhere for her to run and that this Brexit was on her, I proceeded.
What we're talking about right now is how has Brexit affected the UK? And it has, according to every sector. The Nuffield Trust said it's damaged the NHS. The National Federation of Fishing Associations said that it's cost £300 million. The Small Business Federation, they've recently been saying to the Labour government, you need to fix this. It is hurting people, and it is because of a policy that you and people like Nigel Farage supported.
Can it actually be fixed when the EU constantly want to throw more and more regulation at the situation? Regulation which has stymied their ability to create any big industries or growth in the dot-com sector.
This regulation argument,
lagging behind the rest of the world.
Now that right there is an argument that yes, Brexit has hurt us and it needs to be fixed, but joining the EU would make things even worse. So I pointed out why that doesn't make any sense.
This regulation argument doesn't make sense because by definition, Brexit means double regulation. It means that in order to trade with the EU, we have to follow both the UK regulations and the EU regulations in order to cross that border.
But you would think
and it means extra checks.
So shedding some of that red tape would be good for industry.
Which is why the Small Business Federation has said that the extra red tape of Brexit is the regulation that is strangling our businesses. So on every level, you have hurt this country. You, Nigel Farage, Richard Tice, you promised that it would help working class people, and what you have done has hurt them.
I don't think that's entirely true, because I've been spending most of the day talking to lorry drivers who are pretty pleased, actually, that their salaries could potentially be going up as a result of not having competition from busting workers from other countries.
It hasn't kept pace with the cost of living, though, has it?
Well, no, the problem here is actually we've got a shortage.
No,
we've got a shortage actually of lorry drivers as a result of actually having a whole glut of people coming in here who put them out of work, now going back to their home countries.
And the staff shortage has only added to inflation.
Remember when the shortage of lorry drivers meant that Nando's didn't have any chicken and McDonald's didn't have any milkshake? Not having enough staff does not make your economy better, it just makes things more expensive, which the Bank of England has confirmed.
The small firms are the ones that are most damaged because the cost of the paperwork and so forth is a barrier. It's not just small firms in the UK who want to export, but it is also small firms in Europe who were suppliers and provided competition in the UK market. So there is an inflationary effect coming through the competition channel.
And then we get on to Donald Trump.
Do you think that there is business to be done with Donald Trump?
By comparison, when the EU tried to negotiate with Donald Trump, they managed to get an agreement in writing that nothing in that agreement would damage our ability to nationalise or renationalise healthcare. So nationalised healthcare was protected if we were in the EU. Compared that with Donald Trump, who has said that in any trade deal he does, he will make sure that he addresses the imbalance and the freeloading, whereby non-American health services are able to extract what he calls unfairly low prices from US drug makers. So his explicit aim is to make the NHS pay more for drugs so that Americans pay less. That's what he will be demanding of us. And if we go into negotiations with him, that's what's on the table, the NHS.
Right, and then Donald Trump likes doing a deal. He's very transactional. So what you turn around and say is that is beyond conscionability. We're not going to be doing that. And you actually work to reduce tariff barriers. They're our biggest trading partner.
And so he's going to bend
the knee. Is a negotiation.
And so you reckon Donald Trump is going to bend the knee to the UK? And just do what we say. You know,
I think it's worth sitting down and having some sort of deal with America.
Now, unfortunately, she kept interrupting me, but what I was trying to say was that his whole thing is Mr. America first. So he's not going to put the UK healthcare system ahead of the American healthcare system.
They are our biggest trading partners.
No, let's be clear. We do 17.6% of our trade is with the US, 46.7% of our trade with the EU. Our biggest trading partner is by far the EU, and that's what you've damaged. So again, in terms of Mr. America,
I think it would be fair to say that it's most countries in the world. You talk about people trading freely with their neighbours, which I totally agree with. If the EU stayed as a free trading bloc, I think.
And then at the end of it, I was just having fun.
You've got to listen to the will of the people. You've got to uphold democracy. And if you look at every country,
you referred to Brexiteers this morning as a minority.
I think Brexiteers are the most persecuted minority in this country at this point. Single country.
This morning you referred to Brexiteers as a minority. It's no longer the majority. You are the minority.
So actually, no, we won the majority in that referendum.
But not now.
I was using it in. You knew I was using it in sarcastic terms.
All the evidence shows that you are in the minority now. The demographic shift, older people voting leave, young people voting remain. You are the minority now. So the will of the people is against Brexit.
See, we have an advantage here in the UK over countries like America or France or Germany or the Netherlands because we've already seen the agenda of these people play out. They argued to leave the EU for decades, claiming that that would be the salvation of working class people, and yet now everybody can see that it has hurt working class people. So there is nowhere to hide for these people. I'm Femi. Make sure you follow F Politics so politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.